Steve Allen here, and this is Off-Road Grind and Bentley Custom Off-Road. And this morning we're going to be working on this Tacoma. Pretty excited about it. This is from Ali up in Wisconsin, and came down visiting some friends and family and dropped off his truck to get a replacement on this swing arm that he's had on here for a while from somebody else, and it is not working for him. So he wants a ladder, a dual swing out. So we're going to put a ladder on this side here, where we go over here on the driver's side, so we can access his rooftop tent up on the roof, which is where rooftop tents usually are, and then replace this tire carrier. So let's get at it. Cleaned up, ready to roll. So what I'll be doing is just making some new plates for the hinges to go through, get those welded into place on each side, and then we can start building out the swing arm. Got it all cleaned up with the surface conditioning tool. This sucker here, awesome. And I'll cope the ends to fit around the hinges, get those welded into place once we've got the plates in, and yeah, we're good to go. It's coming along. So for coping out the end of the swing arm, what I'm going to do is just take the hinge cylinder, put it up at the edge, at the end of the swing arm, and I'm going to put the outside of the hinge cylinder on the inside of the tubing, so the inside edge of the tubing there, because I want to have a thicker component of the tubing welded into here. So if I put this on the outside, I'm going to have to cut this out, cope it, and I'm going to have a razor edge on the outside here. I don't want that. I want a thicker bit of tubing. So I'm going to have this outside edge of the hinge cylinder on both sides on the inside of the tubing. And one of the things you can do is you can mark that, so when you flip it over to the other side, you know how deep you're putting it. But if you have it right on the inside edge of the tubing, it should be the same depth on each side. And then describe that line over there. So we have that, and flip it over, do the same thing. And here's where that little mark on the inside comes in handy. So you can line that up, get it on the inside of the tubing. Do the same. And now we're just gonna fit this in, and it's not slipping in as easily as I'd like. So what we're gonna do is just sand off the edge of the inside here, and it looks like it's the curve of the tubing here. I didn't cut it far enough out on these outside edges here, because I always want to try and stay inside the line, and then I can always move out a little bit as I need to. So that's totally cool. I think we're good down here. Looks like I need to bring it out a little bit at the top here in these three corners. So let's try that. Get the sander. Much better, it's nicer. So now we want to make sure that this is perpendicular to the actual swing arm. So we'll pop this up there like that, take that square. That looks good. One of the things I can do is get the other hinge on top of this one and put it in, and see if that extension makes it look good. This looks pretty solid. So let's just confirm that this is the way I want it. So if I pop that onto here and then put that one on top, that gives me a longer extension of the square here, and I can see if I like how that's looking. That is really good. So cool. Okay, so we're good with that. Now what I'll do is I'll just mark off where I want this swing arm to be welded into the hinge body. So let me set things up over there and I'll show you that. So here we're looking for the height of the swing arm on the hinge cylinder. As you can see on the right hand side here, it's a little too high how it's set up on these sawhorses, because that's coming up too high into the hinge cylinder. So we're gonna have to adjust these guys a little bit. If this pops off. Okay, we're just going to weld this hinge cylinder into the end of the swing arm now. We've got it all square. We like the way it is, and we're just going to pop this in. It's pretty much actually right centered in the swing arm, so I'm good with that. I've got the ground on the other side, and this is this is like a 1/4 of an inch thick cylinder. This is about 10 gauge, I think, a little over 1/8 of an inch. So just going to dial this down to like 250 or so, and 18 and a half. It's not as much as I would do on 3/16, so a little combination there. And I'm going to tack that into place. Make sure it's still square. Because this is going to be centered, it doesn't really matter which is the back, but always try and get the back of the swing arm to be the side that's got the seam on it, so you're not really looking at that from the back, because sometimes it'll show through your finish. Okay, we are putting the square on that. Good. Yep. Well, I mentioned I was going to show you the process of getting this angle cut here so we could create the swing arm to come back a little bit further than we've got it placed right now. If I have the hinge coming across here, it's going to be, as you can see, it's going to be too close to the back of the door. See that little part there is probably going to be a little too close, I think. So what I've done is put the back edge of the swing arm where I had the swing arm before. Put the back edge of this level, sorry, where I had the swing arm before. So that shows me that if I have the back edge of this swing arm here level with here, then I'm in the right spot to clear all this stuff back here when it comes to the ladder and the tire post carrier and things like that. So I want to have this back a little bit further than where it would be if I had the hinge here. As you can see, here's the center of the swing arm, here's the center of the hinge. So it's just a smidge, right? So what I'm going to do is I've already got this in place. So now what I need to do is figure, okay, where am I going to create a little bit of a cut in this swing arm, this one here, in order to bend it to allow it to come out from the hinge here, come out to this point here, I think, and then go across the back. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. A little bit more work, but I think it's going to create a better looking system, and certainly a lot stronger here because it's going to be a lot closer to the base where it's going to be welded in. So I like the look of that. That's pretty parallel through there. I've measured it. The back edge of this is 10 centimeters from the 4 inches from the back edge of the bumper. So we are good there. And now what I'm going to do next is create a bit of a cut in here. So I think I'm going to do it here. And now what I'm going to do is get my digital angle finder, and I'll show you how I get that angle so we know what degree to make that cut. So what we want to do is take this digital angle finder. Let's reset that. Take that to 80, because 90 would be straight across. So we want to take off 10 degrees. So we're going to go to 80 degrees on here. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go to 80, And at this point here, what we want to do is take off a pie, a piece of the steel, in order to allow us to bend this in and change the angle a little bit. So there's the mark. So we're going to go that. And bend it, weld it, pop it back in, make sure we like how it's laid out across the back part of the truck, and then we're going to do the same on the other side, because this will change the length across, so we want to do this first before we cut the end off. Let me show you the level up on the front of that. So you can see this is parallel across the back part of the bumper, and then so we're going to get that bubble level in there. So there's the level part of it. So the back edge of the ladder on the other side and the swing arm over on this side is going to be to there, so that's good. And we've got lots of room here, and I think this is a good spot for it to be. It looks good. So I just got this propped up on some blocks to create space or a gap, and then I'm just going to hold my weight on here, close that up, and then hold my weight on it until the weld cools down. Don't take it off while it's still red. So there we go. Put that into place. And there we go. So that looks good. I like the way that looks from the side, from the back. We're pretty dialed into the level of the bumper back there. So that's pretty awesome. Right on, we're doing pretty good here. We've got the hinges all welded in, so they're set. Welded the cut line. We've got the plates all connected in, welded. Let's start at the drilling of that. No, it's not going to fill it in. So this side, same thing, so it's looking good. We're going to put the stop pin locations in here later. It's still pretty hot, so we'll let that cool for a bit. And I think once this is cool, I'll press in the bushings. These guys here. Don't want to do it while this is those are, I think, oil impregnated brass, and if I put them in now, the oil will liquefy and come out. So right now, I'm going to put the tire carrier plate on, or at the very least drill the holes for this. And I have a little template here that I use. Works well. That gets everything lined up. So if I pop this in the center, draw a center line, get that lined up, mark the holes, drill them a little oversized so the cone bolts are in here. So the cone bolts are going to come back in through the other side, and that'll center it as I put the wheel on and screw the cone nuts on through the tire or the wheel. I'll show you that. But anyways, let's get this marked and drilled and prepare for that. My saw fell over and the guard, the spring that pulls the guard out, broke right here. So I'm just gluing that back into position. It's still wet. I think I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow before I can use this. Tire came off my table that I was using to position the wheel. It bounced over, hit the saw, knocked it over. So what Ali wanted this tire a lot lower so he could see out through the back window, and I kind of gave him some different options, and we decided that he's going to go with it to be a lot higher. It's going to have much better clearance on the bottom. I'll see if I can remember to show some of the photos of the different options that I was sending him. But just like on our 4Runner here, it's really high, and the departure angle is amazing on that. And I didn't want him to lose departure angle by having it so low, just so he could see out the back. And the reality is he uses this a lot for off-roading and camping, and he's got a lot of stuff back there, and he's probably not going to be able to see out of the back that often anyways. And with that cab back there, it's not a great view through the back rear view mirror. So I talked him into getting a mirror overlay rear view camera, so the camera will fit up, I would think, probably up somewhere above the rear brake light there, and then just wire in the video cable through the cab, or through the camper shell, the shell there, and up into the cab and into the mirror. And I think that's going to work perfectly for him. He's going to love that. So anyways, he was happy that I took the time to go back and go over those different options for him instead of just doing what he said. But I think he's going to like it a lot more, the way it's going to be. A little higher. I'll block out the window a tad, but that's okay because he's going to have a huge departure angle back there, and I think he's going to really love that mirror overlay for the rear view as he's driving. Anyways, let's get on this tire plate and carry on. I'll wiggle around a little bit in there and self-center a smidge once I put the wheel on, and bolt it in from the other side, and then I'll weld it and then finish the welding. Drill this out just a little bit. Okay, so here is how we're going to pop this in. So this, got the bolts in, just tightened up by hand with the self-centering nuts on the front. So that's exactly what I want to see, and all these bolts are coming through perfectly straight. I can grab the plate and shift it, and then I'll see the bolts angle out into a weird angle. So I just want to get this all in place so that they're coming straight out through the wheel. And now what I'll do is hit a couple of tacks on each side of the bolt, or yeah, the bolt head, and then that'll center it, lock it in. And then I'll undo the nuts and weld them all in with it off the wheel. I just don't want to put that kind of heat into the aluminum. So then let that cool. And then by the time that's done, I should be able to press the bushings into these hinges. And then I can start working on getting them cut to length so that I can start working on the catch and the latch system here. For the swing arms, trying to get at least the length cut today. I think it's supposed to get 3 or 4 inches of rain, not tomorrow, but the next day. So I want to try and get this done tomorrow, and then I can do the coating on Wednesday. And there's the bolts welded into the tire plate, so we've got that taken care of. And by doing it slightly oversized, this is still going to be smoking hot. By doing it slightly oversized, as you can see, if I'm off a little bit with the drilling of the holes, which I'm just doing it on a hand drill press here, so it's not like it's all laser cut, then see, these two are pretty good. This one just a little, like a millimeter down this way, but it just self-centers itself, so it's all good. And then now what we're doing is pressing in these bushings into this hinges, because these are cooled enough. So I just have a 20-ton press here, and let me set the camera up and I'll show you how that works. In the past I was kind of hammering them in, and I was like, wait a second, I've got a press, just use the darn thing. So this works pretty good. Let's Get it centered in there. Kind of self-centers a bit. Okay, so that is done. And they're all set. Pressed in nicely. We are having a crazy weather day today. It was actually supposed to pour rain right from early this morning. But I think it's going to get worse about 4 o'clock, so about 3 hours from now. But tornado warnings, hail, etc. And I was planning on just doing taxes today, but it's not raining right now, so I'm working on the swing arm until it starts pouring. It's not really raining anyways. As soon as my tools start getting wet, these are coming in. But right now we're working on the ladder. I got distracted. I should have worked on the tire carrier first, but anyways, we're gonna build up a ladder here, and this is gonna have the same angle as the back cover, which is about 15, 16 degrees. So we've got a 7.5 degree cut here, and same on there. So it's going to give us a nice, this is going to be straight up from the swing arm. And then we've got this piece here across the top, like that. I believe that'll be the top rung. And then we're going to have 2 other rungs about 1 foot apart. And they're about 13 inches between the 2 rails. And that'll be enough to get both feet on side by side. So if he wants to stand on the ladder to mess around up on the roof, that's no problem. Okay, so that's done. I can weld that later. I want to get all the cutting of things done before the rain start. So next I'm going to pull the saw back out again and get some 2-inch tubing going. And to cut that to the post. So it's about 19 inches from here to there. And that's about where we want that tire plate to be anchored in. And then I'm going to do a couple little support pieces coming off the side just to give it some more structure. And eventually we're going to start working on the cut here, but I think that's not going to happen today. So once I got these pieces cut, I'm going to pull this in so it doesn't get wet. Actually, it looks like it's starting to rain. So let me pull all this stuff inside the garage. I might keep cutting a bit, but that's where we're at right now. Get the ladder welded together later, and then work on the tire post and those different pieces. Holy moly. We got this all set up. So here's our tire post. 19 inches, just check this square blade was not quite 90 degrees, so I just had to recut the bottom, took a sliver off. So happy with the way that looks now. So just gonna pop in just a couple of tacks in here just to hold it into place. And I always like to get a plate up along the back. Sometimes I'll clamp it in, but I just want to make sure it's level with or flush with the actual swing arm. That's good. Got it in our mark. There. Okay, so that's good. Now what I'll do is I can start working on the tire and figuring out the back spacing. So one of the things I'm going to do now is I can put some supports in there. This is going to come over 2 1/4 inches, so let me mark that. So I know I don't go beyond that. So that ladder is going to come to here. So I want to make sure that I keep this support probably within here. That gives me lots of room to have the extension of the arm to get to the latch. Which is probably going to be in around this area somewhere. I'm thinking probably here, because I don't want the latch to be here. So if this is going to come out 2 1/4 inches to here, I want to be able to operate the latch to the right of the ladder. It'll be underneath the tire, but I want to be able to operate it to the right of this thing here. So I'm imagining the end of this swing arm is going to probably come out to about here somewhere, and if I have a gap of 1 inch or so here, then this swing arm is probably going to be there, I think, or maybe back to here, so somewhere in there. So I'm going to have the support come inside here. So let's say to there. So whatever that is, 45-degree angle. Yeah, it's usually like 14.5 to 15 inches that I make these. So let's do 2 at 14.5. That'll take it to there. That gives them room to put some things out here if you want to put. So let's cut 2 45-degree angled supports, and then once I've got that in place, then we can put the tire back up, figure out where we want to have it on here, and then measure the distance from the top of this tube here to the back plate of the wheel, and then take off 1/4 inch for that wheel plate, the tire plate with the bolts in it, and then that's going to be the length of this neck. So let's do that. As you can see, we got the supports in here down on the side. So what I'm trying to do now is just get the tire on there where I think I'd like it to be, and it doesn't matter where I'm going to pop it up and down right now. I just want to kind of get the general position. So there's the tire post in the back there, and so what I'm going to do is draw a line, because this tire can slide up and down along the line that it's at right now. So what I'm trying to do is figure, okay, how close do I want to get it to the back of the truck? That looks pretty good here. I could probably move it maybe a little bit closer, so I'll maybe shimmy it forward a bit. We've got some space underneath the tire post here, so I can probably move that back in a little bit. I think I will do that. So let me set this down. I don't want to get it too close, but I think that's looking pretty good. Maybe, what's that, 2 or 3 inches from the side there? I want to try and get it maybe another 1.5 inches closer. So we've got room down here. So popping it up and taking a look and deciding, okay, yeah, I can shift that in a little bit more is good. So let me set that up. Here, I'll just throw this here. Try not to have this fall off. Here's the tire plate that we're going to use. So wiggle that forward. I like that. That looks good. These RV blocks come in handy. One of the things you want to do is make sure that the wheel isn't shifted too much one way or the other. It's too much this way right now, so I can get it flat across the back like the ladder is. So you can line it up with that. That's looking good there. It's a little bit better. As you can see here, so we're a little tighter in. Got room, got lots of room for flex. There's not going to be much, if any, but that's looking good. And then that ladder is going to come over another 2 1/4 inches. Where's my ruler? So we've got 3.5. So we're going to have 1.25 inches between the ladder and the tire. So we're maximizing our space here, so that's good. Actually, that tire is going to come over that way a little bit more based on, it looked like it shifted over there when it tilted. So I'm liking that. So let me pop that back up here, move this over. I'll show you how I measure the back space there to get the length of the top neck. So pop this back into position where we want it to be for the most part. Looks good. Let's roll it. Here we go. We're going to have lots of room over here. So it's actually 5 inches. So we're going to be two and a half or so away from the ladder. And now what I'm going to do is just measure from the top of that tire post to the back of the plate, and we're at 5 and just a little over 5.5. And then this tire plate here is 1/4 of an inch. So if this was on the back, it would actually be probably about 5 1/4, I think. Yep. So I'm gonna make the neck 5 1/4 inches long. So this was left over from the first support that we cut. So this is going to go on the top. So I'm going to measure 5 1/4 inches along the top here, and then cut that at a 15-degree angle that way, and then weld the tire plate onto that, and then attach the tire to that. So I'll show you that process, but that's basically how we're going to do it. Not too complicated. I made it a lot more difficult earlier when I was doing this to start with, but this is a lot easier doing it this way, and then just figuring out what angle you want it at. So that back window is at 15 degrees. That's what I did the ladder at. So we're just going to mark this at 5 1/4 to the top, because that's where we measured from the top of the tire post horizontally along here. And so we're going to do this at 15 degrees along there like that, and then weld the tire plate onto that. So let's get that done, and I will be back when we're ready to weld that all together. Now I always find it's easier to weld the plate on before you put the neck there on the tire post. So we're going to draw some lines on the back here, figure out approximately where we want that tire plate to be in relation to the wheel. So if I put that on there now, if I like the wheel to where it is, and I think I actually might want to bring that down just a little bit. I brought that down 1 inch. I put that on there. That would bring because right now the top of that post is right in the middle of the plate. I want to bring that up 1 inch. Then when I put the tire on, it'll slide down. So the way I look at that is I'm going to grab my marker in my ruler, and then I've already got some center lines here, but let's just mark them all off just to show you quickly how I do it. So we're going to find the center up here. There's 4 inches because it's 8 across. And then 1 inch on either side. Yep, that's nicer. Okay, cool. So that's that way. Now we want to figure, okay, where do I want the top of this? So right now, it's like 5 over. The top's 5. I'm going to slide it up 1 inch to here. So if we go to there, I think that'll work. Okay. So now what I can do is take this and just put it on the plate the way I want it to be, where I want it to be. Oop. Like this. Okay, let's make sure we get that at the right angle, right position. Let's just check, make sure that's how we want it. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to take this, get the welder fired up, weld this into place so that it's all set up properly, and then we're going to tack this onto the top of the tire post, and then we're going to fit the tire on, make sure we like it, and then weld everything in. Okay, let's pop that on. See how it looks, make sure we like the angle. We got everything sorted out properly. So I'm gonna get this set up. We're going to clamp it a little bit and then make sure it's all properly positioned, and then get that tire up there. Easy way I found to get this to be popped into the right position, just put a little C-clamp on there to support the extension there of the neck. And then what I'll do is take that piece of metal that I usually use to just hold on the back, put it on one side of the tubing here, over here, probably just onto the back, put a tack on the front here. I'll show you that in a second. I just like to get everything as level or flush as possible. And then we'll get it tacked into place in a few spots, get that tire up there, make sure we like the angle, and then take it off, pop everything in, get the welds going, and then we can get some primer on there. Gotta cut the ends of the swing arms and get the mounts in, but then we're pretty close to getting done. Hey, this looks really, really nice. I'm liking spacing, I love the angle. That worked out really good. Got perfect clearance down in here. Perfectly matches the angle of the ladder. So it's gonna come over 2 1/4 inches. So you got lots of room in here. Yeah, it looks nice. I like it. Okay, so let's get that ladder, finish welding that in, the tire post and supports, get these cut, and then we can work on the catch or the latch block, and then I think we're pretty close to getting it ready for finishing, so I like it. Here's what I'm thinking for the latch mount, whatever we call it. And so we got a 5-inch extension here, 5.5 across here. It's a little off-centered, just because I wanted to get this right into the corner here. I was thinking of having it come out here and then going across, but I thought that would create too much stress on this side with the tire carrier latching over here if I had it come off here. So centered it, and we've got this pretty much dialed in. This is level there, so if I take my little 1-inch tubing, and that's right where I want it to be there. And we're just going to latch that into here. So we've got the latches coming down in here. It'll pull in a little bit, and I'm probably going to have a little catch on the back that drops in over the back of the swing arm here onto the block back there. So let's get that done. Start welding all this in. So we got the fiberglass blanket up there to protect the back of the truck, and we're ready to burn some metal. Okay, quick catch up on where we're at. All the welding's done for the ladder and the tire carrier. And I've got the block here in for the catch, or the latch, I guess we're gonna call it. And then I just made these little spacer blocks here out of 3/4 inch tubing, cap the ends. And what I'm gonna do is weld these to the bottom of the swing arms, and that will create the block and then the structure to clamp the latches down onto the block here. So next step is we're gonna weld the latches in here and the catch here, and then actually maybe I'm gonna weld this in here first, and then what I might do, and probably will do, is weld in a little strip of maybe 3/16 inch steel across the top of the block here, so that when the swing arm goes in, it stops on that little strip of steel. I think I'm gonna do that. So I think next step is let's position the arms where I want them to be, I think they're going to be out like 1/8 of an inch from the bottom block here. And then I'll probably weld these in up in underneath it. That'll give me a little bit of 1/8 of an inch gap. And then they'll be flush with the face of that. And then I can put the catch on the bottom here and the latch up here. I think that's going to work pretty good. So let's do that. We are all done. Pretty happy with the way things turned out. So right now I'm going to pull all this off, get it all primered up, and it is pretty chilly still, so it's not going to get over 60 degrees. So I'm going to wait till tomorrow. It's going to be a little warmer tomorrow. Just want to get some primer on it so it doesn't get all rusty. But quick tour here. We got the latches on. These came together really nice. A little bit of splatter here I got to clean off. But the little block idea worked really well. So these are going to lock down really solidly. So that's awesome. Ooh, that's not quite on there. Oops. And once I get the deal all set up, like this is super solid. You can rock the whole truck back and forth. And that's not flexing at all. So that's pretty good. That's the way I like it. Nice and tight. Okay, strong, solid. Clean off that edge a bit. But yeah, these stops, this is like a little safety stop. It drops in when it locks in. So if that latch comes off, this isn't swinging out. This is a full open position so that it can clear the door, everything can open. Same thing on this side, safety position here. Got to drill that hole out a little bit. My battery died though. And that's the open position. Looks good, pretty happy with it. So we're gonna get this all cleaned up, get some primer on it, and get the coating done tomorrow.
Hey, I'm Ali Antar. I'm really thankful. I just wanted to put the new swing arms in, and Steven did a great job. He kept me updated every day, sent me pictures, let me know what was going on, and it's wonderful quality work. I mean, I got up there, and it's super solid. I like getting up, and yeah, let me help out with some of the wiring. Wonderful. Would experience 5 out of 5. Would recommend the experience and everything else. It's great. Wonderful.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming down to Texas. It was awesome. Great to meet you again.
Thank you.
So.